Hi, this is Braschek, and we're recording this on December 21st, Solstice Day, which in the Eastern Time Zone took place at 5:02 this morning. We are not a full-time news service, but we've been forced to become one because of the fact that people that do this full-time for a living just flat out aren't doing their jobs. So this is a special bulletin about the new mutation of the COVID virus. And so some European Union countries, most notably France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands, are now blocking travel from the UK. It is hard to overstress or overstate what a steaming pile of absolute bullshit this is. There have been variants of this virus and of every virus since day one. So the only thing that they're claiming, and I'd love to see their evidence, and there's no evidence given anywhere, the only thing that they're claiming is that it's more easily transmitted. There's actually some video that I saw from the World Health Organization where they flat out say it doesn't have any greater effect. But we don't have the time to make that video for you, unfortunately, but I just wanted you to know that video's out there. If you look for it, you will find it. So this is absolute 100% fraud, just like everything else related to this story. The Financial Times, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and his family has a big share of GlaxoSmithKline, which is the biggest vaccine maker in the UK. They seem to be going along with this. Now, this apparently is going to affect food imports to the UK, because the UK is an island, and they're kind of cold in the winter, and they get a lot of their food from warmer places. Now, Spain and Portugal and countries like that so far have not joined this. Well, no, it looks like Spain's going to jump on board too. But anyway, a lot of Britain's food comes from truck via the Channel, and that is being closed, as are the ferry boats, as are flights. So how England's going to get its food is anybody's guess. There's something else I would have loved to make a video about this. There's just not enough hours in the day. But something that everybody should be thinking about, which is this thing started supposedly in Wuhan, China. Now, we now know that it was in Italy in October, so the whole Wuhan, China story turns out to be another steaming pile of bullshit. But anyway, let's assume it started in Wuhan, China. How many people in the entire country of China, which is pretty big, do you think have died of COVID or reportedly died of COVID? I'll tell you, a little more than 4,000 total. Okay, so let's look at the numbers. We are being told 300,000 Americans have died of COVID, but somehow only 4,000 Chinese have died of COVID. Now, China is 4 times the size of the United States. So to be on par with the United States, China should have lost 1.2 million people. It lost 4,000. So our death rate is not 30%. If it was 30% higher, that would be very suspicious. If it were 300% higher, that would be amazing. It's 300 times higher, all right? That this is not being questioned or evaluated or analyzed or discussed is it's just like everything related to the story is beyond belief. It makes no biological, scientific, or logical sense. Okay? The Chinese didn't do that great a job of clamping down the virus. And as we know from Zach Bush, you can't clamp down on a virus anyway. They go where they're going to go. And that's just how it is. So it's such blatant fraud. The other blatant fraud is, if anybody is aware of how the world is configured, hundreds of millions of human beings live in terribly overcrowded slums with horrible housing stock and no sanitation and no health care and poor nutrition, and I would probably guess high stress. And did I say no doctors and no medical services? If this thing were real, at the way they're saying it is, there would be mountains of bodies in the slums of the third world. We're talking about Mexico City. We're talking about Nairobi. We're talking about Cairo. We're talking about thousands of places in this world where people live in the most they can't. A mask costs nearly $1. There are a lot of people in this world that live on $1 a day, and they're lucky to get $1 a day. So they don't have masks. They can't do social distancing. They're living crowded beyond our comprehension, and they're not dying. But we're dying like crazy. And we know this is a fraud. I think, again, if I had the time, I could make the video to show you that this year the flu rate is off by over 90%. So 90% less people are getting the flu this year. How do you like that? It's because they've changed the definition of COVID, and COVID now apparently includes the flu. So if you're concerned about the latest news, let me be the first to tell you, like everything related to this story, it's a fraud. And it's just pathetic. So anyway, wanted to give you that news fast so that you get it in a timely way. We are literally responding to today's headlines. If I sound a little exasperated, it's because I am. Anyway, that's that. Okay, brass check.